Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. As we approach the first debate of this presidential election season earlier than normal between President Joe Biden and Donald Trump, it's clear, crystal clear, Trump and the Republican pitch to voters is fundamentally a con job. I mean that in the most literal sense. The term con job comes from so-called confidence men, fixtures of the late 19th century, who swindled their victims with their confidence. Right now, that kind of false bravado is the defining feature of Donald Trump's attempt to win back the Oval Office. Remember, this is the man who tried to destroy our constitutional republic live on national television and who utterly failed in overseeing the one national crisis he had to guide the nation through, the pandemic. And yet, Trump and his surrogates are constantly telling voters to ask themselves the question, are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
They can't run on, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? I don't think Joe Biden can run on the question of, are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
That's the one question he is praying that he never hears. Are you better off under 4 years for Joe Biden or 4 years under Donald Trump?
You know, people are saying to themselves, were we better off 4 years ago or are we better off now? And it wasn't even close.
That, by the way, was all from the past week. Now, we have been running a series here on All In responding to that very question because the events of 4 years ago were so disruptive and shocking, unprecedented and traumatic. I think a lot of people, I would say most people, partly myself included, to be honest, have just blocked it out. And again, I get it. I don't want to think about sitting inside trying to homeschool my kids or attending a Zoom Shiva for my dearly departed uncle, or the indelible images of packed hospitals and the dying saying goodbye to their loved ones on iPads. And of course, the fact that most people don't want to think too much about 2020 is an enormous advantage to Republicans in the Trump campaign who are attempting to pull off this con job. Their aim is to kind of magically replace your memories, to distract you from the fact that 4 years ago, we were all living in the midst of disaster.
Tonight, the country has reached another sobering milestone in the coronavirus pandemic, surpassing 2 million cases. And this warning sign, hospitalizations are surging in many states.
We're going to start our rallies back up now. We've had a tremendous run at rallies. I don't think there's been an empty seat, a big one in Texas. They're all going to be big. We're going to Arizona.
Texas and Arizona among at least 9 states reporting a jump in hospitalizations, the best indicator of the virus's toll.
We're really doing a financial comeback. The jobs numbers were fantastic.
Still, 1.5 million people filed for unemployment benefits last week, almost 43 million since the pandemic began.
I think that the economy will be, next year will be maybe the best it's ever been. You can already see it with the stock market, how it's been going up, because you have a lot of smart people that are betting on exactly what I'm saying.
A huge sell-off on Wall Street today amid new concerns about the continuing spread of COVID-19. The Dow plunging more than 1,800 points, its biggest drop in 3 months.
And very important time in our country. A lot of things are happening, and I think when it all ends up, it's going to end up very good for everybody.
There's growing concern tonight that relaxing restrictions is causing major increases in COVID-19 cases.
We need to protect lives. We all agree with that. But all the lives are precious, not just the people who've been infected by COVID, but also the people who are being driven to this because of the lockdown.
Here's what's happening in some of those places that have done a total shutdown. Their poverty rate is going up. What are people going to do if they don't have jobs to go to earn a living in order to take care of their families? That's the main reason. All of these scare tactics, they won't work this time around. They will not work.
I should note, 1 week after Herman Cain made that appearance on Fox News, he attended Donald Trump's indoor rally, big indoor rally in the midst of COVID in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And by the end of June, he was hospitalized with COVID. And he died on July 30th at the age of 74. Naturally, every time we do one of these segments, I find that looking back at 4 years ago brings on a lot of emotion. Most people divide recent history into the before times and the after times, myself included. A lot of us feel nostalgia for the before times. And that is exactly what Donald Trump and his allies are using to build their lie about what really happened, to erase our real memories and implant false ones. That is their project, and it has been unnervingly effective so far. 4 years ago, in June of 2020, while we were all living through the trauma of the pandemic, Donald Trump's approval rating was 42%. Now, in a new Monmouth poll asking voters to look back, 47% of Americans say they approve of the job Trump did as president. It's not much, but those 5 points are basically the margin of the entire election. And they are accomplishing that swing, that con job, through flat-out lies about what is really happening. Take a listen to Missouri Senator Josh Hawley doing this today.
He's going to run on his record from 4 years ago versus Biden's right now. We have the new numbers out today. Gas under President Biden up 55%, groceries up 40%, wages down 3%. I mean, that's the campaign right there. That's before we get to crime. That's before we get to the border.
Okay, so sorry, Josh Hawley, wages are up decidedly. Average hourly earnings are actually up 17% from May 2020 to 2024 in nominal terms, like the groceries and stuff. Wages have also crucially outpaced inflation for the past 13 months, as Heather Long of the Washington Post pointed out today. Crime, which Hawley mentioned, is way down. Look at what has happened with the homicide rate. In 2020, when, Donald Trump was president, he ushered in, under his presidency, the largest ever one-year jump, spiking 30%. By 2023, the homicide rate had tumbled 19% to 5.3 homicides per 100,000 people. New data from the FBI shows the rate continues to drop off dramatically, down another 26% in the first quarter of 2024 from the same time period last year. Gas prices are, I will admit, overall higher than they were in the summer of 2020. Why were they low then? No one was traveling anywhere. Okay? That's what the cheap gas prices. When there was refrigerator trucks full of cadavers, the gas prices were low. And they spiked up in the early part of the Biden administration, the war in Ukraine, but they've been trending in the right direction and continue to fall even as the summer travel season heats up. Grocery prices are coming down, not just with inflation, which cooled to 3.3% today, but retailers are actually now slashing prices on thousands of items. Again, they spiked in the wake of the pandemic like they did everywhere in the world. But they're on the right trajectory now, and all this is happening under the presidency of the incumbent, Joe Biden. And we are not losing thousands of Americans a day to the deadly pandemic. We do not live in a nation in the throes of constant disorder. This time, 4 years ago, we were living through the televised murder of George Floyd and the protests and police response that followed, while then President Trump called for sending in troops.
Across the country, what started as peaceful gatherings protesting the death of George Floyd devolved into destruction. From New York, where police and protesters squared off in the streets, to Portland, where the mayor issued a state of emergency and a city curfew.
The nation erupted into scenes of chaos, violence, and widespread destruction into the early morning hours. In some of the nation's biggest cities, the night spiraled out of control early.
We've just had to run about a block as police moved in. We've been fired at with rubber bullets. My cameraman has been hit. We've also seen tear gas being used. Here we go, they're moving through again. This is exactly what it looks like. Exactly what it looks like. We're just standing safely.
Oh.
Whoa. Oh.
Amelia, can you hear us?
Amelia, are you okay?
We are really surrounded by the police, and you really saw the way that they dealt with my cameraman, Tim. They're quite violent, and they do not care who they're targeting at the moment.
I said, we have to dominate the streets. You can't let that happen, and we're doing it with compassion. If you think about it, we're dominating the street with compassion.
All that happened under the watch of President Donald Trump. We cannot say or hear that enough. And if he returns to power, I am telling you, it is a safe bet we will return to trauma and chaos. The repositories of authority, the things people trust, believe in, the fairness of the game is doubted by large majorities of Americans. A lot of that has to do with stagnating wages in the middle, but you see that play out in different ways in both Trump's particularly closing message and railing against pharmaceutical companies and the like, and Bernie Sanders' message from the beginning. It's been almost a decade since my brief flirtation with internet immortality from the 2016 Bernie sandwiches incident. There was even a video game that got created out of that. In my defense, it had been a very long day covering the New Hampshire primary, and we were doing our show where we did so many MSNBC shows that year at JD's Tavern in Manchester, New Hampshire. And at that very moment, as I was speaking, directly in my line of sight, was Howard Fineman sitting in a booth about to take a bite from a huge pastrami sandwich. Howard Fineman, the legendary political journalist, was there with us at all of those political moments on every primary and convention, everything in between, going back more than 20 years. He was a near constant presence on MSNBC, sharing reporting and insight from his lengthy career spanning 4 decades and 7 presidents.
You confess your weak spot up front, right? But then you turn it into a virtue, right, and you make what you hope is a dramatic and winning contest with your opponent. In this case, as you say, you cannot out-flamboyant Donald Trump. Yes, you cannot be more, in many ways, irresponsible than Donald Trump.
Fineman was more connected in politics than just about any journalist ever has been. As one former colleague said today, he was a force of nature who knew everybody in Washington, D.C. I was so saddened to learn that Howard died today, at the age of 75, after a long battle with cancer. I knew him well. I knew him to be both exceedingly clever and exceedingly kind. He was always a mensch. And Howard had this reporter bravado that they don't make much anymore. Our thoughts are with the Fineman family tonight, including his son, Nick, who's a senior producer here at MSNBC. We're all really going to miss him. It has been 250 days since the October 7th attacks, and an estimated 120 Israeli hostages still remain in Gaza. President Biden, the UN Security Council, and the governments of Qatar and Egypt are all still pushing for a negotiated ceasefire that would release all the remaining hostages. But the fate of that deal remains unclear. So far, about 120 hostages have been returned to Israel alive. That includes 116 released as part of the brief pause in fighting that happened last November, as well as the 4 who were rescued in a military operation last weekend that also left nearly 300 Palestinians dead, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. Since the conflict began, family members of many hostages have urged Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his government to come to a deal for the hostages' release, organizing, protesting, meeting with leaders both in Israel and the U.S. And now one of those groups has written an open letter to American Jewish organizations asking their help to press Netanyahu to end the war and accept the deal that's on the table, saying Israelis are being held hostage, not just our families who are held by Hamas in Gaza. We are all hostage to Bibi's actions. He is risking the lives of our soldiers. He is jeopardizing the lives of our hostages. He is endangering us all. Zahiro Shahar Moore is a spokesman for those hostage families. He's a critic of the Netanyahu government. Multiple members of his family were taken by Hamas on October 7th. 3 of Zahiro's relatives were released in that initial swap last year, but his uncle, Abraham Munder, remains in captivity where he recently turned 79. And Zahiro Shahar Moore joins me now. It's really an honor to have you, and I want to thank you for joining us. I want to start just by asking you how your family is doing, how those who have been released in November are coping, how you are coping with your uncle's continued absence.
Well, thank you for having me first. My family members are trying to cope, but, you know, everything is in this status mode because we are still waiting for Abraham to come back. And until he comes back, nothing can, you know, start moving into healing or recuperating phase. So day by day, I guess this is the way a lot of families, not just my family, of course, a lot of families are feeling this way. And we are waiting for this issue to be resolved, and it's been taking so long. It's amazing.
There are sort of 2 stories I've heard, or 2 sort of arguments about a ceasefire deal. One is that Hamas won't accept one on the terms that Israel would find acceptable, and that Sinwar, the head of the military commander in Hamas, wants to keep the war going. The other is that it's not worth a deal prematurely if it means a cessation of hostilities before eradicating Hamas. And as someone who has a family member there and has been organizing this, what is your demand, your request, your ask of your government on this negotiation?
First and foremost, the ceasefire. First and foremost, the ceasefire. This is elementary. This is like when there was a ceasefire, hostages came back. Now, heroic operations are, heroic operations. They happen here and there. They are not a strategic solution to the problem of 120 people still kept in captivity. During 7 months of military operation, Israel succeeded in releasing 7 hostages alive. This is, a pace of 1 hostage per month, 8 months even. So 120 hostages, it's like 10 years' time. The hostages have no time. Their sanitary conditions are non-existent. Their health is deteriorating by the day, and physical and mental. And we must find a way to bring them back home as soon as possible. These are not, these are not only young people. These are elderly people, grandfathers and parents and uncles and people that were taken from the beds 7 a.m. on a Saturday, in their pajamas and barefoot sometimes. Yeah.
In the U.S., one of the things that there has been kind of a joining of the notion of the war and the justness of it and doing it on behalf of the hostages. Many people feel that the war is on behalf of the hostages, and people think that those who are calling for a ceasefire are betraying them or forgetting about them. And you wrote this open letter that basically argued the opposite. And so for people that are people of good faith across the spectrum on this very contested issue, I want to hear your argument to them as a family member.
Sure. First, again, a ceasefire. Why? The thing that endangers the hostages the most right now are IDF bombing. This has been from October 8th ongoing, where my 9-year-old cousin's son was asked during an interview after he has spent 49 days in Gaza captivity. He was asked, what do you feel most about your grandfathers still being there? Without hesitation, he answered, the IDF bombing. The IDF bombing endangers the hostages, and the IDF bombing, actually, we know about 14 hostages that were killed either by direct hit by the IDF or, as after an IDF attack, their attackers needed to evacuate the space. They killed them. So, the military operation endangers the hostages. It got 7 hostages out, 14 at least dead, and the whole military maneuver is not beneficial for the hostages at all. It's not helping them. On the contrary, it gets them further and further away from a hostage deal, further and further away from getting united with their loved ones. Because we know that the conditions for the hostage exchange or the prisoners exchange or whatever you want to call this, getting them back home, is first a ceasefire. And by waging this war from day one, the Israel government initiatives of this military operation is only keeping us apart, keeping us further and further apart. At the beginning, it was only northern Gaza, and then it was Rafah, and before that it was Khan Yunis, and we're just getting further and further apart from a solution to this problem, because the solution should start with a ceasefire. This is, logical and basic.
Zahiro Shaharmour, who's a spokesperson for the group We Are All Hostages. His uncle, 79 years old, still held by Hamas in Gaza. I can't thank you enough for making a bit of time for us, and we're all thinking about you and your family.
Thank you very much. And we pray for the safe return of all of the hostages as soon as possible. This is a humanitarian issue. This is not some political issue, and people trying to make this a political issue, especially the government is trying to make this political. No, this is a humanitarian crisis, and everything should be done to get them back as soon as possible. Thank you very much.